Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Brian's Horror Corner, and welcome to this horror TV series season review video as part of my current series. So today we're going to take a look at the third and final season of the early 70s TV series Night Gallery. So yeah, I have the first two season reviews up on my channel, along with my favorites and least favorites from those two seasons. So be sure to check those out. But this is going to be all about season three here on this video. And season three did end up being the final season of Night Gallery. It ran from, well, 69 to 73, but 69 was when the pilot aired. It actually was 70 to 73 as far as the three seasons go. And I do have the entire series here on the collection here on DVD, 98 stories in total. Season three has 17 stories and 15 episodes. So it's the smallest season, I believe, out of all of them. Or was season one? No, I think season one had more. But anyway, the biggest change about season three is it went from a 60-minute format to a 30-minute format. The first two seasons, including the pilot episode, were all 60 minutes. And season three changed to 30 minutes, so just a half hour. That's why it's 15 episodes, 17 stories, because basically it was one story per episode, finally, in this season. There's a couple episodes that they have a couple of small shorts at the end of them that's the extra two that you get with 17 stories. But yeah, otherwise, season three, that's the biggest change for season three. I also do think the quality of the show did dip in season three, and particularly after the first half of season three. I think the first 6 or 7 episodes of season three are still really solid, as you're going to find out when I give you my favorites from season three. But after story 7 or 8, I would say that's where the quality really took a big dip for me. And it's not that the episodes and the stories are terrible after that, but they're just kind of meh. They don't really hit the landing, in my opinion. Just not as well written as the first two seasons. I talked in those videos about how well this show was written and that I couldn't really find many faults. Even my least favorite episodes weren't badly made episodes. That kind of it started at the end of season three, where I could see why this was the final season. The writing just kind of deteriorated, and the stories just didn't quite have the same impact as they did at the beginning of this series. So that being said, I'm going to give you my bottom three, or my least favorite three episodes or stories from season three, and then my top five. In season two, of course, I did a top 10 and a bottom five, but that's because you had 62 stories, I think, in 22 episodes. There's a lot more to choose from. To be honest with you, this is the first time I had to think hard about coming up with 5 good episodes, or three. Um, well, not so much the three least favorite episodes, but the top five, which kind of does tell you that the quality had dipped, because in the first two seasons, it's like, oh man, I got honorable mentions that I got to name. I don't have any honorable mentions in season three, which should pretty much tell you everything you need to know. That being said, I didn't think that it's a show certainly not horrible in season three. It's not a horrible season three, but it is definitely the least of the three seasons, my least favorite season. So that being said, let's just go ahead and get into it with my three least favorite episodes or stories from season three. Number three is going to be Hatred Unto Death. Um, I have to remember what this particular story was about, which pretty much should tell you everything you need to know. Oh, this was actually the last season, if you want to say, or the last episode, I should say. Basically about a gorilla that's got some sort of anger or hatred towards this particular human gentleman. I don't know. It just really didn't. Maybe I was checked out by this point, but it was kind of a silly episode to begin with. The gorilla looked kind of silly. You could tell it was a guy in a suit, as wont to be the case in the early 70s. But yeah, it really just didn't hit home for me. It really wasn't all that interesting of episode. So yeah, that's going to be my third least favorite. Number two least favorite for season three is going to be Something in the Woodwork. Um, this was about an older woman who I think she was kind of off her rocker a little bit, if I'm not mistaken. She basically wanted to get revenge on her husband. And she's an alcoholic. She reluctantly asks a ghost for help to plot revenge against her husband. Is the gist of it. And again, I wasn't into this episode. It kind of lost me early on, and I didn't think that the characters weren't that interesting. And it just, again, it's just kind of a meh episode to me. So, and then my number one least favorite episode from season three is You Can Come Up Now, Mrs. Milliken. This is one that had the what's their name here? Um, Ozzy and Harriet, I believe it is from yeah, Ozzy Nelson and Harriet Nelson, who of course had their own show back in the 40s and 50s and into the 60s. This is basically about sort of a clumsy couple, man and wife, who experiment in more immortality. Yeah, this is just kind of a lighthearted, silly episode, but it really just didn't. I was checking my phone when this episode was on. It really didn't do anything for me. It wasn't scary. It wasn't all that interesting. Again, it's just another season three kind of meh episode to me, as there were many at the end of the season. Um, So yeah, getting on to my top five, the five episodes I enjoyed most. You're going to see that all five of these, I think, are in the first seven or eight episodes of season three. My number five was Fright Night. This is about a couple that moves into, I think they inherit actually. Um, if I'm not mistaken, they inherit a house. Yeah, a young couple inherits a farmhouse, and they end up experiencing these unforeseen terrors. I thought they did a pretty decent job with this episode. Well, it's not the strongest. It's my number five. There was some decent tension, some good atmosphere in this episode. I thought the performances were good. Just kind of a little bit of a haunted house sort of episode, which of course I appreciate if you know me. Um, but yeah, I enjoyed this one. It definitely stood out among this season. Um, Number four is going to be The Other Way Out, is the title of the episode. This is about a guy, I think he's like a hitman or a murderer, who's called, he gets like a note or a letter basically being called out, and he ends up at this house as he's on his way to meet this person that's calling him out in the letter, and his car breaks down or something. And um, yeah, he ends up meeting this guy, and yeah, things kind of escalate from there. The most notable thing about this episode that I noticed is Burl Ives is the guy that he runs into in this house. Um, he's basically being made to pay for his crime of murder. This not Burl Ives, this other guy. And Burl Ives is the guy who runs into at this house. If you don't know, of course, Burl Ives is the he narrated one of the great Christmas specials of all time, or Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. That's what I'll always remember him for. But he was actually good in this episode. There's good atmosphere in this episode, and I also kind of like the twist at the end, The Other Way Out. If you've seen the episode, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, it was good. I really enjoyed it. Definitely stood out. Number three is going to be Rare Objects, which I believe was the third episode from season three. This is one with Mickey Rooney and I forget the other gentleman. He's a pretty well-known actor from the older days. Raymond Massey, who was in East of Eden. It's about a gangster played by Mickey Rooney who's targeted for death. He meets a specialist who can basically guarantee him sanctuary at a very high price, as the synopsis said. Now, the high price isn't what you think. Again, it has another kind of twist to it, and this kind of calls upon a Twilight Zone episode from years earlier, too. It kind of reminded me of that. The performances are really good by Raymond Massey and Mickey Rooney, though, and it's just got a very good twist. I really enjoyed this episode. Number two is going to be an episode entitled Specter and Tap Shoes. This is about a woman who comes home to find that her sister was apparently committed suicide, as she's hanging from a rope, and some things happen. It's sort of got a kind of like a little bit of a haunted house ghost story that goes on with her sister, but then it turns out to be there's sort of a twist the other way that you don't see coming, but then a twist back to, oh, okay, yeah, there was something to what I was thinking there when you watch this episode, which I kind of appreciate. I thought the performance was really good, especially by the main actress. um, Sandra Dee, who actually plays the sister as well, the ghost sister, or the sister earlier in the episode, in flashbacks. Um, but yeah, she kind of has to figure out this mystery. It's a little bit of a mystery. I really enjoyed it. It was a very, very solid episode. And then my number one episode for season three's got to be The Girl with the Hungry Eyes, which was the second episode that aired in season three. This is with James Ferrantino and my gal Joanna Pettit, who is in. If you've seen my other reviews, you know that she's a standout for me in this entire series. I think this is the fourth or fifth episode she did in Night Gallery. She's just phenomenally looking, easy on the eyes, but she's also really good. This might be my favorite episode with her as far as her character and her performance, to be honest with you. But it's basically about this photographer played by James Ferrantino, who's a really good actor. He hires this model who kind of comes out of nowhere, played by Joanna Pettit, and just starts modeling for him. But the biggest thing is she's got these really mysterious glowing eyes that him as well as other guys that she runs across in the street just can't resist, and it kind of meets their own demise. It's a really interesting episode, very creative, as I said, very well active and sort of eerie. Yeah, this is the best episode in season three, without a doubt, in my opinion, for those reasons. So yeah, those are my bottom and my top episodes for season three. Overall, it's a season that I would watch again. Like I said, there's just a lot more meh episodes than I got in the first two seasons. I don't mind that they changed the format from 60 to 30 minutes. I actually think that wasn't a bad idea at all, because as you remember from my first two season reviews, I was always confusing episodes and stories, because in a lot of episodes you get two or three or even four stories in the first two seasons, where it's a little bit more episode versus episode equals story in this season, with a couple of exceptions. But yeah, definitely the weakest season, but there's still some good fun to be had here, some good stories in season three. So yeah, that's pretty much my wrap up and summary of season three of Night Gallery from the early 70s. So stay tuned. I'll have one more video giving you my overall top 10 episodes of the entire series of Night Gallery, as well as my bottom five of the entire series of Night Gallery. That video will be coming out in the next day or so as I wrap up this series. But I hope you enjoyed this review video. Please like this video and hit the little notification bell down below. And please be sure to subscribe to my channel as well, so you don't miss any of my great horror content coming up. We're getting close to that month of Halloween, and I've got a lot planned for you guys. So stay tuned for videos dropping on that. But I hope you enjoyed it. Hope everybody's doing well. Thank you for watching, but stay scared. Bye.